Hi, I'm Mary Travers, and welcome to Mary Travers and Friend. With me today is my friend Billy Joel, and I've heard that Billy backed Chubby Checkers once and jammed along with the Zombies. Let's start with something more current, a song of Billy's called Piano Man. That's such a terrific song. It really is.
Thank you.
I really love it. I saw an old bio of yours. Like most bios, they were always about 3 years out of date, but it mentioned that you studied classical piano when you were a kid.
Right.
And you didn't love it.
No, I didn't like taking piano lessons.
Was it the typical, your mother said you will and you did, and...
Yeah, she dragged me down the street and said you're going to take piano lessons. I mean, I'm glad I did, because now I'm making a living, right? But at the time, you know, you're a kid, you want to play baseball, you want to sit at the piano. Off we go to music land, you know, John Thompson. I had to do the whole number. And after a while, I guess I had a feel for it, or a talent for it, because it got to be fun. I got to like it. I never really liked sitting down, having to learn Beethoven or Mozart, although I did get to learn it. At one point, and they probably had this in the bio, too. I didn't want to read it anymore, so I used to fake it. I used to fake Beethoven. I used to fake Mozart, because one or the other of my parents, who were good musicians and who knew what Beethoven sounded like, would listen to me practice. So if I was going to fake it, I had to do a real good job. So I learned his style, and I'd start making up my own pieces. And that's how I guess I started writing. That's when I got into writing. I write little sonatas.
When did you get interested in contemporary music?
I didn't like old rock and roll. I heard a lot of, my older sister had all the records. Hey baby, come on, let's dance. You know, it didn't really move me, you know. And then I guess I was about 14 when the Beatles hit, which was the ripe age to have gotten hit by the Beatles, and that's when I just...
They were really an incredible influence. I mean, it really changed the whole music scene around. Mm-hmm. And I think they took the best of folk music in terms of lyrics that had content and real significance about people's lives, and translated that into a form that was unique. Who else did you listen to in that period? You think it influenced you?
I guess that whole English invasion, all those groups that came out, the Zombies and the Kinks, mainly the Zombies. They knocked me out. They had an album out, and it was a classic album, I thought. The keyboard work was real good, and the singing was kind of weird, and the rhythm was... a couple of their songs are really strange, very, very different than, you know, rock and roll that had gone before.
Very innovative.
Yeah, and I don't know. I got off on it. It really moved me.
Can we play something by them?
Tell her no.
We'll be right back talking with Billy Joel after this message.
Did you try that new Columbia blank tape yet?
Nah, I like what I got better.
How could you like what you got better if you never tried Columbia?
I don't need it. I'm happy with what I've got. Now, why don't you just leave me alone?
Jerk. Columbia's the best tape around. They made hundreds of millions of tapes. They know more about tapes and recording than anyone else. They got the best labs and recording studios and research equipment in the business. That tape's gotta be the best.
I don't believe it.
Idiot. Columbia's new fail-safe cassettes and converter quad cartridges last longer than any other tapes. They won't jam up or stick. The tape has wide frequency response for higher highs and lower lows and can record really loud sounds without distorting. It's not gonna give you fuzzes and squeaks like other tapes and just won't mess around with the music.
But what if I don't like it?
Dummy. Columbia's got a special deal right now. Try one of their new blank cassettes or cartridges. Compare it to the tape you've been using. And if you don't think Columbia's tape is better, just send it back and they'll send you the brand you like better. Anything you want. Now come on, kid, get out of here.
Well,
What about piano players? I mean, who were the piano players that you started to listen to that came out of the English situation?
Well, I don't know if I was influenced by the groups as far as piano playing. I think Brubeck was my first real inspiration to get into improvisation and style. But I think my style of piano playing comes from working cocktail lounge type affairs when you don't have a bass player and your left hand is the bass. and your right hand, it's the wrong way to play. You're supposed to play piano left hand chords and right hand fooling around, and I play left hand bass and right hand chords and fooling around. It's like right hand classical, left hand boogie woogie. So for whatever that's worth, it's my style, for better or worse, you know.
And that came from playing lounges?
From playing lounges, or just from sitting around at home and accompanying myself, because I get a kick out of myself. You know, I can have a good time, just me and a piano, and I'll kind of orchestrate with the piano, and I guess that's the kind of style of piano playing I play.
That evolved out of that.
Yeah.
The question of influence is always an interesting one, because I think it's hard, I think, to ask somebody. I always find it when somebody, who influenced you? It's easy to answer when you were 10 or 12 or 15. But in contemporary terms of who you listen to or who has influenced you in the recent past is always a difficult question, because some of that stuff you just absorb. I think, you know, you don't realize whether it's affecting you or not.
If I had to pick one person, I think it would be Paul McCartney.
Let's play something of his.
Maybe I'm Amazed. You got that?
Yeah. Maybe I'm Amazed. Paul McCartney. From the time that you started doing, quote, rock and roll, which I don't even know if that's really the correct definition for what you do. What would you call your music, by the way, out of curiosity? I hate labels, I mean, but better the label you invent yourself than the label they give you.
I don't really know what I would call it. It's probably, what I think of it is, it's either the grandson of rock and roll, the son of rock, because rock and roll was the 50s and rock was the 60s, and now it's the 70s. I don't think of it as rock music. I mean, I've been influenced by it.
Yeah, I don't think it's rock music either. It's some other category, but someone has got to come up with a new name for it.
Well, Time magazine.
It's more personal. It's more personal than rock and roll.
Yeah, and it's also influenced by too many things to be rock and roll or rock. There's just so many different kinds of music now.
But I thought acid rock was a definition for a certain kind of music.
Yeah.
And folk rock made sense. But what has evolved now is it's still closer to folk rock in some ways, in the sense that the lyrics matter.
Yeah.
But it's got to have a new designation.
Well, that's the thing. You know, you hear now, oh, rock is in the doldrums or rock is dying. You know, and I don't think they carry it far enough. I think rock is dead, and rock died maybe in the early 70s, and it's not rock anymore. There are groups like that are out now, you know, Yes, or people like we're talking about, Harry Chapin or Jackson Brown. There's so many different kinds of music. You just can't call it rock. You can't throw it into a rock thing. You can't lump it on under one bag. There's a lot of classical music that people won't listen to because they might have heard.
Rick Wakeman has made some incredibly successful records. And what is it? But it is a spin-off from classical music. And
Emerson,
a lot
Lake
of kids are loving it.
Right.
A lot of people love it.
Right.
And they'd love Bach, you know, if they could take it one step backwards.
Yeah. I think it's good to listen to. Good to be exposed to it. I like Yes. Yes, I think is the best band in the world right now. There's a cut on the Close to the Edge album called And You and I, which I think is one of the greatest songs ever written.
We'll be right back talking with Billy Joel after this message.
If you're wearing after 6 on prom night, your date will never let you out of sight. You'll dance beneath the moon, she'll probably even let you spoon. That's if you're wearing after 6 on prom night. They come in blues and pinks and greens and yellows. Your girl will surely think that you're a snappy fellow. And when the night is through, she'll stop and think of only you. That's if you're wearing after 6 on prom night.
I'll never forget Seymour, the young man niece Penelope brought home. She thought he was exotic. He was a slob. Always wore the same T-shirt with Benedict Arnold's portrait on it. Well, on prom night, I couldn't believe my eyes. In his after 6 tuxedo, he was utterly transformed and quite delicious. If after 6 could do that for Seymour, imagine what it could do for you.
That's if you're wearing after 6 on prom night.
It's fascinating to watch the classical music have almost a rebirth. It has truly been reabsorbed
Yeah.
back into the musical dialogue.
Well, Yes doesn't really repackage classical. They're kind of picking it up where it left off. They're doing things like Stravinsky or Charles
Right.
Ives pioneered, and they look like a rock band, but they're not. To me, they're where classical music left off. They're picking up the piece again.
Yeah. What do you think about your second album?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
It's okay. I think it's very good. So there. I'd like to play something off the second album. What would you like to play?
Well, a traveling prayer.
Okay. Introduce it. Be a disc jockey. Better you than me.
Yeah, now, a tuneful tune from Billy Joel album, Piano Man. We're going to play for you right now. The first